How's it going, everyone? Today we have a story time of a spoiled kid. And this kid is so spoiled. You've heard spoiled kids before on this channel that have destroyed their school, that have destroyed so much property, getting kicked off airplanes. But today, this spoiled kid is so entitled and truly thinks he rules the world to the point where he thought it'd be okay to burn down the subscriber's house. Yes, you heard me right. This is an absolutely insane story with plenty of twists, and you won't believe how spoiled this kid is. So sit back, relax, subscribe to the channel if you are new, or follow me if you're listening on Spotify. Leave a like on the video right now to claim your free nothing. With that being said, let's just jump right into it. So we're going to call the subscriber who submitted this story Peyton. And anyways, there was a kid who we're going to call Trevor that lived in Peyton's neighborhood. In fact, he lived 2 houses down from Peyton growing up his entire life. So Peyton has known, because Peyton has basically lived in the same place ever since he was 2, and he's known about this kid since he can basically ever remember, because he started having memories around 3 or 4. Anyways, this kid, Trevor, was an absolute nightmare. His family owned like a 6-car dealership, or no, like a be very clear, his family owned 6-car dealerships, not a dealership with 6 total cars in it. That would be a totally different story. And so he basically grew up thinking the world was his personal playground. I mean, this kid, his parents weren't billionaires by any means, but they had a lot of money, and here's one thing I will say, too many times in these stories have I seen parents who just honestly don't know how to raise their kids if they have money. There's no problem in making money. In fact, you can give your kids a ton of opportunities. You can give them the best nutrition, the best opportunities to play sports, to learn, to travel the world, to really do all of these things. However, happiness is so relative. And if you teach your kid that they rule the world, they're literally going to have the worst life ever, at least once they grow up. So this was the first red flag, was in 5th grade. So this kid, Trevor, this was all happening. Trevor and Peyton had a class together, and this kid, Trevor, got mad at his teacher for giving him a B-. And, his work was probably B- material. I think this kid started when he got older and older, and now at this point in 5th grade, he is all about status, all about a hierarchy, all about people thinking that he is the best ever. And look, when you're a kid, your prefrontal cortex is not super developed, so I understand you might be thinking, Connor, this happened in 5th grade. Well, let me tell you the rest of the story, because it only gets worse the older he gets. The more his brain develops, the worse he gets. But he got mad at his teacher for giving him a B-. And he had his mom buy the school a new playground swing set next week. And then all of a sudden, this is when Peyton knew things were corrupt. All of a sudden, his grade mysteriously changed to an A. And of course, Peyton complains or whatever, and a couple of his other friends, Ben, Will, a couple other people, they all kind of realized, they saw the grade book and they saw it mysteriously change. And they also knew that there was no more submissions. And so they complained, right? But instead of getting an answer or the teacher admitting or something, they got all detention for looking at the teacher's grade books, which I am going to say this is probably the most reasonable. At this point, Peyton just had a suspicion, but he didn't know anything was true. But as middle school continued, this kid, Trevor, really showed his true colors. And what I mean by this is every couple months, he would get a new iPhone. And he would demand from his parents because his last one would break. And here's the thing. His parents never decided to teach him a lesson of hey, I know that iPhones are important for your generation to communicate, but we're going to give you maybe a cheaper model or a flip phone or something like that because you keep breaking them. No, his parents, no questions asked, would always get him a new iPhone. So every couple months, whenever he was feeling bored with his current phone, he would show everyone, he'd go around and tell everyone to watch him on the playground for he basically said the bi-monthly or the multiple, the whatever anniversary of getting a new phone. Basically what he would do is he would every couple months, he would come up with a new way to destroy his phone. And yeah, all the kids, or at least a big group of kids, definitely were interested and they did watch it. Because, hey, man, it's not every single day that you see some psycho kid breaking their phone every couple months. And it's oh my God, it's a super expensive phone. why would he break it? But it's also like those videos that go viral online of people destroying like electronics, which I don't know if I'm for those videos. I think it's kind of a waste, but those videos get millions of views for a reason. People are interested in watching that. And here's the thing, this spoiled kid, Trevor, knew that not only one, he'd get a lot of attention, but he'd also be able to show people that he had the power where he could break his phone, he could break a really expensive electronic that most of the kids, if not every other kid at that school, if they broke it, they would not get a new phone till Christmas, till their birthday. And they had to be really, really careful. But this kid, Trevor, was like, oh my God, like I can show everyone that I can break it and I'll just get a new phone tomorrow. So yeah, every couple months he'd break his phone, make a big deal out of it, and then he would just mysteriously get a new one because his parents wouldn't ask anything about it and then just get him a new phone. And this only continues because one time he lost a bet during recess and he owed the subscriber $20. Look, the Peyton, when he submitted the story, kind of forgot exactly what the bet was about. It was something small. It was something stupid. But like, I don't know. Hey, man, if you put down your word, I'm going to give you $20 and you lose the bet, right? And you're apparently super, super rich and can do anything you want. Like at a certain point, I don't know, man, like it kind of comes to a point where you should just give that $20. You know what I'm saying? Like you should give the $20. And he owed him $20. And instead of paying, he set the $20 on fire with the lighter his dad gave him for his birthday. And he then said, now we're even, which makes no sense. So he literally brought a $20 bill to show Peyton. Peyton actually thought that he was going to get the $20. But then all of a sudden, out of nowhere, he just lights it on fire just to show him he does not care. Which, by the way, burning money, I'm pretty sure is a felony. I mean, it's not like you're going to jail for the rest of your life. But bro, are you serious? Like, are you that spoiled that one, you don't even give him money? Like, you don't even give him like the money that you owe him. So you don't even, you're not even sticking to your word. But you obviously had the $20 to do it because you burned it. You literally set it on fire. Anyways, this kid, as he got older, as I said before, usually when someone gets older, their prefrontal cortex continues to develop. And that is like the newest part in like evolution. That is the newest part of the brain. So it's a lot of where we have emotional regulation, processing, stuff like that. There's other parts of the brain, the more primitive side. It's very interesting if you go into like kind of neuroscience. And there's this really cool book I read about how the brain has kind of developed over time and consciousness, whatever. The reason why little kids are so annoying and mean and cruel is because their prefrontal cortex is still developing. But here's the thing. Sometimes when you have an ultra spoiled kid, as they get older, they get worse because they understand, they become more sophisticated in them being evil and mean, and they don't grow up. So sure enough, right, freshman year, this kid bought a dirt bike. And he bought a dirt bike. Trevor asked his parents for the most expensive dirt bike. And his parents, of course, it's not his birthday, it wasn't for Christmas. It was for like his half birthday or like Japanese New Year's or some like absolute random holiday or something that like he did not celebrate but gave as an excuse to get a dirt bike. Sure enough, right, he gets a dirt bike. And this kid this kid always wants to have an upper hand on everyone. He wants to show them that he can get away with anything. So this kid decided to ride the dirt bike straight through the school hallways because the parking lot, quote unquote, was too full. He totaled 3 lockers. And you might be thinking, okay, this kid absolutely went in and destroyed a bunch of school property. Absolutely, he's going to get in trouble. This kid, yes, he did technically get suspended for 3 days. But you know what this ended up being? It was basically a 3-day vacation. And it was a 3-day vacation because he went home, played video games, and he was like posting on a Snapchat story about how he's like, when you're really that guy and you destroy the school property, but you end up getting 3 days home alone playing video games and you don't get in trouble at all, just posting that on a Snap story. And of course, the school used his dad's donation money to fix it because his dad decided to give another little donation to make sure that his little Timmy over here, I guess little Trevor, wouldn't get suspended wouldn't get expelled from the school. Instead, he would just have a little vacation at home playing Fortnite, playing Roblox. Like, bro, that is not fair. In no world is that fair. Anyways, yes, this kid just continued to get worse and worse. As you can tell, this kid is a massive spoiled kid, but it only gets worse from here. So all this stuff started happening. He got worse junior year. So junior year is when the real mainline story happens. But basically junior year, he started throwing massive bush parties at his parents' lake house. So basically his parents had a lake house which was very close. It was only like 20 minutes away. I'm not going to disclose where the subscriber lived just for privacy. I always alter a handful of the details. I always give random names. So by the way, if you want me to use your name in the next video, just comment your name down below in the comment section, or comment your friend's name, or just give me name suggestions. Like, I literally read the comments. I sometimes ask my friends, my business partners, I'm like, hey, what name should I use? Anyways, but he did happen to have a lake house that lived pretty close. And when I say he, I mean Trevor's parents. Obviously, I don't mean him. Anyways, he started throwing these like bush parties at his parents' lake house, and he trashed the place every single time. And he'd always just hire cleaners the next day and brag that the fireworks indoors are fine if you own the fire department. This should have been a huge warning. So Peyton actually went to one of these parties just because like so many kids would go to them. There'd be obviously free drinks, free food. It'd be fun, this kid Trevor would always like invite a bunch of girls. He probably paid them off $50 each to always show up to his party, so he'd seem super cool. But Peyton should have realized that this was a warning. And so this kid, let me just set the context of what I just told you. This kid is setting off fireworks inside. This kid is trashing the place. This kid is completely reckless, and he's an egomaniac. And as you can tell by the title of this story, that plays a role. And then also remember, this kid's main house is 2 doors down from Peyton. Can you kind of see how this is all starting to come together? Yes. Let's go to the actual night of the story. So those were like the last 8 years leading up, and this is still junior year. Trevor decided to throw the biggest bonfire, this is a year later, this is senior year. This is the night of the story. So Trevor decided to throw the biggest bonfire senior year has ever seen at his house when his parents were gone, right? His parents were away in Aspen skiing or something like that, right? They were doing like one of those kind of vacation things. And word got around that this was going to be the party of all parties to go to. Usually Trevor's parties would get pretty good attendance, but this one was really, everyone was going to go to it because he was kind of hyping up how this was going to be the biggest, craziest bonfire party of all time. He's like, all the girls at school that you have a crush on in your class are going to be there. We're going to have the craziest drinks, craziest food, and there's multiple surprises that you guys aren't ready for. You better show up. Remember, no one really likes Trevor, but this does sound like a pretty interesting time. So yeah, and he also told people infinite invites. And by that, he just means invite anyone you'd like. So he's really trying to make this the biggest thing of all time. His parents already have pretty good relationships with everyone in the town. And by pretty good relationships, I mean they make quote unquote donations to a lot of departments. So obviously, like, it's something where if Trevor goes around and like blows up like bombs somewhere, then yeah, he's gonna get in trouble. But those standard kind of mystery, like if the cops are riding by, and like I've had a story I think about a week ago where some kid the week before the story got in trouble because he's having a bonfire. They were teenagers, they had a few drinks they shouldn't have had. The police went by and busted it. It would be a situation where if Trevor was to have the same thing, where it was a bonfire deep in the woods. It's actually a bonfire pit. It was only a couple guys. It wasn't that crazy. If Trevor was to have something at that level, they would completely look the other way. However, as you can probably tell, this is starting to get a little bit out of hand. He's trying to make this the biggest senior party blowout of all time. I think he's starting to realize that like this is the last time he's leaving high school after this. I mean, unless he's going to be a super, 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 super senior in 10 years or something like that. But he's like clinging on to all the clout that he's tried to build up over time and is probably a little bit afraid of going into the real world. I mean, he's probably going down to one of those SEC college schools, is going to be the head of some fraternity or something. I don't really know. And then eventually work at his dad's company. But anyways, he wanted to have a crazy blowout party. So anyways, people start showing up. Trevor, the subscriber Peyton, the night of, he's hanging out with one of his friends, and there's a couple of his boys are over at his house, and they see big groups of girls walking by his house, big groups of guys walking down as well. You could hear the music super loud. He's probably already gotten 15 noise complaints, and it's only 8 p.m., right? So, Peyton and his friends are sitting there, And they're just thinking like, man, maybe we should go down. Like, this kid's super annoying. The cops are definitely eventually going to shut this down, even though if they give them a billion free passes and warnings, there's going to be a certain point where it's just, when too much is too much, it just happens, right? It's time to go. But eventually they're like, yeah, maybe this could be fun. So anyways, Peyton and his friends, they're like, okay, whatever, we'll go down. They start walking down as well. And they just see like the backyard. There's like, it's almost like a massive outdoor frat party at this point. It's insane. They just hear so much commotion, so much chattering, music blaring, and they can kind of see smoke going up from what was presumably a bonfire. Anyways, they walk in there, and it's actually pretty fun. There's all these tables, all this food. There's like all these this like one girl that like Peyton was kind of into was there too. So he's like, yeah, maybe we will stay for a little bit, whatever. They see a bunch of their friends. They're actually genuinely having a good time. Night goes on, they're having food there. It's actually pretty fun. I mean, this kid, Trevor, whenever he'd walk around, he started to get like a little bit tipsy, one might say. And the more tipsy this guy got, the more annoying, then also the more bold and brash he got. He actually ended up calling some people peasants or whatever, but since they were at his party and they didn't want to get kicked out, honestly, man, they kind of looked the other way. Anyways, as the night went on, this kid got just more and more wasted. And he was like, at one point, Peyton saw Trevor go up to some the most popular girl, whatever, in the grade, try to hit on her a little bit. She very politely declined. So I think at this point, Trevor, being super hammered, if we're just being straight, really wanted to show off how cool and masculine and big balls he was, right? I don't know why I just said that so loudly, and emphasized that. But sure enough, right? He's super wasted. He wants to show off to all the girls that he's super cool, super lit, super awesome. So he ends up digging around in his dad's shed. And what he finds is a big can of gasoline. Yep, you can already see where this is going. Anyways, if you made it this far into the video, I want you to comment window. I'm looking at a window right now. That's the secret word of the day. It'll let me know the names and faces of people who made it this far into the video. Yes, I can look at a retention chart and see what percentage of people or the number of people, but I like seeing the names and faces of people who made it this far into the video. If you don't know, the best way to support the channel is just by watching these videos. Obviously, if you're on YouTube, like, subscribe, comment a few times. Actually, multiple comments helps better than just one. Turn on notifications, but the best thing you can do is watch videos. Spotify, same thing. Please rate the podcast 5 stars if you haven't. Follow the podcast, comment in the comment section, reply to other people's comments. It does boost everything. But the best thing you can do is just watching these videos. Prime Connor Pugs is back. I was gone for basically 2 years. Built a company, did other social media channels, and still very much doing that. But I thought, why don't we make a comeback in late 2025? And then 2026, guys, Prime Connor Pugs is back. I think that we can build this back. I think we can have a massive comeback in 2026. I think that could be pretty fun. A lot of people are doubting us. They didn't believe in us, DJ Khaled meme. But if you want to help you bring Prime Connor Pugs back into the YouTube and Spotify algorithms, just watch these videos, put on the compilations when you go to sleep. And with that being said, let's get into the rest of the story because this is about to get mad crazy. Anyways, this kid Preston, he was just basically rejected by this girl. And he's super hammered. So he's kind of in the mode of okay, I need to really prove myself. I really need to do all this kind of stuff. And he's kind of just okay, what is going to be the thing that makes this even crazier? And by the way, there's probably over 100 people there. There's a massive bonfire. It's kind of crazy. So he finds a big thing of gasoline. So he runs out, and this is when Peyton notices. And he's like, guys, this is about to get more epic. And then some people are like, yo, dude, yo. And he takes the gasoline can, starts pouring it straight into the bonfire. And eventually he just dumps the entire can and throws into the fire. So then he takes out his Snapchat his phone, records on Snapchat, this is what money looks like, baby. Let's go. And the fire starts getting boom, 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 starts getting bigger and bigger. It's a little windy tonight. And the wind starts picking up as soon as the fire basically 2Xs. Obviously, this kid, Trevor, does not have great fire control. He doesn't understand fire safety. He doesn't understand anything like that. But basically, as the wind picked up, some of the embers started to fly out. And the fire jumped to some dry pine trees that were nearby. Within minutes, the house was fully involved. It started to, people start screaming, people start running, everyone starts running out as the fire starts rapidly spreading. And Trevor, who's hammered but also crazy, stands there and is filming it like it's the coolest thing ever. The fire spread downhill fast, right? Straight towards all the neighborhood houses, including the subscribers. So the fire department obviously is called, they start coming over. But the problem is by the time that the fire department got there, 6 houses were gone. Yeah, so while this is happening, obviously Peyton and his friends run out of there. He calls his mom. He's like, Mom, like Trevor down the street. He's like, there's a crazy fire. We have to go. So the family evacuates. A lot of it's a huge situation, right? 6 houses by the end of this were gone. Ton of other damage, including every single thing that Peyton's family owned, unfortunately. So this is the aftermath. Trevor's parents tried to pay everyone off at first, offering settlement checks, as if this was no big deal. As if their kid didn't just burn down, burn down a bunch of what everyone their houses, bro. As if that meant nothing to anyone. Here's the thing. They tried to do that, but then there was a whole arson investigation. And with this whole arson investigation, right, so much dropped, right? So they had a Ring camera at the house. There's multiple neighbors who had Ring cameras or security camera type things. Don't forget about the Snapchat videos he put on his own story. And you could overhear everything that I just said, as well as this kid yelling burn it all. And the videos went mini viral. And I mean, not millions of views, but I don't know if it went social media viral, but all the parents started sharing them to each other. So this kid got charged as an adult for reckless endangerment and arson. And here's the thing, his parents couldn't buy the judge this time because, man, they might have had some checks to the school, checks to the local police department, whatever donations. But this was a judge, a state judge or something, bro. They can't just throw a bunch of money and have this go away. So he ended up doing actual time in juvie while the rest of for the next 8 months, Peyton and his family, and also some of the other kids he knew that also had their houses majorly affected, for the next 8 months lived straight out of a hotel. Last thing that Peyton's heard is that he's actually 8 now, and he's working kind of by the bay at one of his dad's dealerships because no college would touch him. If you looked up his name, every college would see that, right? And every single time a customer asked for the rich kid who burned down half the street, the other techs point at Trevor and laugh. Look, dude. Money couldn't rebuild what he lost that night. This kid's ego got the hold of him. I don't even think that there's a moral to this story because I think just don't do anything this kid did, especially as the story went on, do that less and less. I think you guys are pretty intelligent enough to know not to do that. And look, this kid burned down everything. His reputation, his freedom, and also, unfortunately, Peyton's childhood home. Right. Eventually, there were settlement checks, civil case, civil lawsuit, whatever. The original settlement checks that these parents were sending out were absolute little, just oh, here's $30,000 for your $500,000 house. Enjoy. Right now. And they got a real suit. They got, here's the thing. It doesn't matter how much money they got from a settlement check. At the end of the day, the childhood house was burned down. They had to spend 8 months in a hotel. But this kid who thought that this was going to be the thing that made him so epic, it was going to be the thing that made everyone like him. You know what, man? That backfired. And it backfired massively.